Nantwich Town Wolves originally started in 2015 under the name Winsford Wolves, because that's where, at the time, that's where I was living, and it was a case of I had just come back from a really quite serious football injury. Really, I had a full cruciate ligament reconstruction. So I was out of action for about 18 months, and when I came back, I didn't feel comfortable going back into the team and into the division that we were playing in at that particular moment in time, because I was fearful basically of repercussions of injury. So it was a case of myself, one of my good friends, and my sister and her partner at the time. Decided looking into setting up our own club. So we got all the relevant information, came up with a name, badge design and everything, and Winsford Wolves was born. And then about 4 years ago now, I got with my current partner, and I moved to Nantwich to be with my partner, and we were finding it quite difficult to fundraise under the name Winsford Wolves whilst living in Nantwich. And as luck happened, Nantwich Town Football Club approached us and wanted to become affiliated with the visually impaired club. And as a result, we had some negotiations, and we talked about the change of name. Nantwich Town wanted to basically call us like Nantwich Town Visually Impaired, and we basically came to a joint decision that we would be called Nantwich Town Wolves VIFC, which is the Visually Impaired Football Club. And that's basically how Nantwich Town Wolves was formed. It was a decision that was made purely for sort of self-preservation, really, because we needed to fundraise as a club, and Nantwich is very local orientated. Like they very much look after their own. So we changed to Nantwich Town Wolves, and the community got behind us, and we've not looked back really. That's basically how Nantwich Town was formed. The initial struggles right back at the very beginning were ones that we had to think about, which were sort of, is it a viable thing to do? I'd played in the partially sighted football league since the age of 16, and it had always been the same teams basically, that would turn up every season and play every season. And in the years I'd been playing, we'd never seen a new club come into it really. So we were a bit concerned about whether it was viable, and also whether we were going to get the players, because I mean it's not the easiest to find visually impaired players, because we don't have access to all of the records and the sort of registers of sort of visually impaired people that the local authorities have, because they can't give you that information. So as it happened, we had sort of friends of ours who played for other teams that weren't particularly happy in the teams that they were playing in. So we got them, they came over to us, and we managed to scrape together a team of 6 players to start with in the first, like when we first started our first season. And yeah, I mean, coming to Nantwich with the name change, the struggles were slightly different, and we'd already become established as a club. We had our team members, and we were sort of not doing too bad on the recruitment level, but the main struggle coming to Nantwich was the financial aspect of it, sort of, because we try and sort of look after our players as much as we can. We'd already got our player base, and by the time we got to Nantwich, actually, we were pretty well established in the league that we played in. We'd done pretty well, and it's sort of one of the things that, like, to answer your question about if I was sort of expected the success that we got, it's something that when we first started, we very much play to win, but we very much play to enjoy ourselves. So we wanted to win, but at the time we weren't deluded. There were teams that had been in this league for years and years and years that were very dominant, and we sort of just played our game, and up to date now, as of last season when we won our division again, we've actually won I think it's three divisions. We've come top for 3 seasons, and we finished second by a single point at the beginning as well. And we have been very successful, and as a team, it's something that we didn't expect, but with the players that we have, we're not necessarily surprised. We do have some good players, and just about 3 weeks ago, we actually had 3 of our players head down to Preston for the England visually impaired football team trials, and they all had really good feedback, and they've come back to us now ready for the start of season. So not expected the success, but not necessarily surprised. I mean, yeah, is the short answer to that. That people, when I tell people that because I'm registered completely blind, I have about 12 inches of functioning vision, and when you tell people that you're registered blind, that you're visually impaired, and all of our players will sort of come to this, really, people automatically assume that you play football with a bell in the ball, or and things like that, and it's just not true. I mean, it is, when you first start, it is difficult, I'd say. If you've not grown up playing football, then as a visually impaired person, it can be quite difficult, but it's not necessarily difficult for a lot of people who grow up. I grew up playing mainstream football in school, in primary school, and then I started playing visually impaired football for in the schools championships when I was 11. So I've had sort of 23 years now of visually impaired football, previously playing mainstream football. So what happens in the Poshside Football League where we play is we play futsal, which is a 5-a-side game. It's extremely fast. The ball is slightly different, and it doesn't bounce as much as a standard football, which is beneficial because you're not having to try and track the ball as it's bouncing off the hard floor at great distances. So the futsal, when it hits the ground, it will have a small bounce, but it's sort of, if it's a straight up bounce, it will just sort of land and bounce slightly and then stay where it is. And when the ball is passed to you, or you go in to collect the ball, it's more it stays more to feet, really. It's not very much sort of bounce off and things like that. But it's more to do with reaction times and things of the visually impaired players that actually get a lot better because they're playing and they don't see the ball till later. So your reactions tend to be faster. I think the hardest position to play in visually impaired football would be goalkeeper, because they are an obvious disadvantage. They can't see the ball till it's relatively close, and by that time they have to make split-second decisions, and sort of, if they make a mistake, it's not just the ball's gone out for a throw-in, it's they've conceded a goal. So yeah, I mean, people don't necessarily understand to start with, and then when you tell them that how you play and the sort of how the game is played, they are a bit more surprised, really. They're like, oh, so it's like normal football, and it's like, well, it is normal football, it's just played slightly different on a different pitch. I mean, well, the jacket behind me, that's the teamwear for the club. So it's got the direct access logos and sort of material on there, as well as the Nantwich Town Wolves badges and things like that. And that's something that all our players get. And to be honest, the direct access becoming involved with Nantwich Town Wolves was through sheer luck. My partner was organising a black tie ball, and we were putting it on Facebook looking for like people to like trying to sell tickets and looking for donations and prizes for a raffle that we were holding on the night. And I believe it was Stephen actually who messaged my partner on Facebook and just said, look, I have this company, Direct Access, explained a little bit about what direct access was, and basically asked if there was opportunity for sponsorship. And it was something that we have had sponsors in the past, but nothing like massive, not with and so we sort of organised a meeting, and I went along and spoke to Steve, and we discussed sort of what we wanted and sort of what direct access wanted, and we very much struck up a really good relationship there because of obviously the direct access being involved in the disability side of life in general, and then with us with the visual impairment side of things, we just very much thought it would knit together quite nicely, and as a result of that, I mean the sort of one of the things that we got from that was obviously we got like financial help there with the sponsorship, and that then enabled us to sort of help our players and sort of like I said earlier on, we try and help them with travel and things like that to tournaments where we play. So in the first season of the sponsorship with Direct Access, we were able to say to our players, look, we've got this brilliant new sponsor, and we are now able to sort of cover the travel costs and things like that. We were able to buy teamwear, and as a result of the sponsorship sort of directly as well, in aid to sort of promote Direct Access, obviously as our sponsors, we got a brand new kit, jackets and everything were logoed up, and it sort of gave us a bit more freedom to sort of do other things in like and not necessarily focus on the financial aspect of it as much as we were doing. We still were holding our fundraising events because a lot of that was more community based and keeping people involved in what's going on, but yeah, it was something that we could just sort of ease off a little bit and not be too panicky about how we were going to find the financial amounts that we needed, and then that enabled us then to relax a bit more, to give our players a bit more freedom rather than trying to hound them with when we were fundraising to help us out and stuff. They could enjoy playing football without the burden of trying to find money for train costs and things like that. So it was really good, and the promotional side of things for our side was good because obviously with Direct Access they were able to say they sponsored Nantwich Town Wolves vision-impaired football club, and that then got us a bit of a higher standing sort of in regards to sort of publicity, that side of things. So we struck up a really good relationship there, and hopefully it's one that will sort of continue in the future. The adult pan disability sessions that we run, they run on a Friday night between 7 and 8 p.m. And as we're affiliated with Nantwich Town Football Club itself, we're able to use their facilities. So we use the 3G pitches there. To start off with, it was crazy slow. I mean, I was turning up and spending an hour basically waiting for people to turn up. And it's difficult because, like I said earlier, we don't have access to the records and the registers of people with disabilities who potentially would want to play football. And another sort of issue that we were struggling with is, if we were able to find people with disabilities, is finding people that wanted to get out there and to sort of mix with other people in the same position as them and to play football. Because a lot of sort of people with disabilities, that there's quite a few out there that aren't necessarily confident enough to come out and sort of put themselves out there. And that's what we try and do with the PAN sessions, is to sort of get people there and get people involved and let people realise that it's a good thing to be out there and a good thing to be putting yourself in the position to be seen. And I mean, it's taken close to 2 years, I'd say, 18 months to 2 years, with the help of Lyndon Wayne, who's the Community Development Officer at Nantwich Town, to build up the PAN disability session that we have at the minute, which is going really well. We've got about 12 players that turn up, and we have a regular sort of showing of 7 or 8 on a Friday night, and they're coming together really well. And just a couple of weeks ago we had an actual showcase of disability football at Nantwich Town, and that involved the visually impaired team and the PAN disability team, who basically played, we had 2 teams from each club as such, and they played a round robin tournament, sort of played each other a few times, and we basically showed people that disability didn't mean lack of ability in regards to playing football, and it went really well. And the under 16 sessions that we set up 3 weeks ago now, once again it's a slow start. We have two under 16s players that turn up at the minute, a 13-year-old girl who has visual impairments and a 7-year-old boy who has visual impairments as well. At the minute we're still waiting for the pickup on that, but it's not something that we're disheartened about, because we know it will take time. We have the backing of the local community. My sort of posters get shared all over Facebook. My daughter and stepson's school have actually taken one of the posters and put it out in their school newsletter, and have emailed it to the other schools around Nantwich and Crewe and the surrounding areas. So we've advertised as much as we can, and it's just a waiting game now. And like I say, it took 18 months to get us where we are with the adult team, and if it takes 18 months for the under 16s to pick up, then we'll wait that long, and we'll do what we do and sort of keep ourselves out there until it does pick up, because we have every confidence that it will. It's just a matter of when. We lost quite a lot of finances through COVID, because obviously COVID was hitting everybody hard, and yeah, it was something that we had to basically get our thinking caps on, because as well as sponsors and things like that, we do hold quite a large annual fundraising event, which is a 43 or 44 mile sponsored walk, which I organise and sort of take part in each year. Because of COVID, we sort of really struggled with that, and a lot of other sort of our fundraising events that were in person obviously couldn't be in person, so we had to basically think about what we were going to do, because we couldn't just lie stagnant, because when the season started again, we didn't want to be scrambling around trying to find the money to basically do what we needed to do. So we went virtual, basically. We were holding virtual quizzes, virtual bingo nights. We were doing virtual raffles, everything we could do, which was online. It wasn't just sort of financial struggles that we had, we were trying to sort of keep all of our players on a positive sort of morale base. Like, we were trying to keep spirits up. We were sort of like, look, we will get back to it. We, as the management sort of team, as such, the committee, we haven't forgotten about you guys, and we were trying to do things promotionally and publicity wise to keep our name out there, and we did a few sort of TikTok videos and a few sort of Facebook videos and things, and tried to get the players involved in that, to sort of basically say, look, we are trying and things will get better, but between now and then we have to sort of try and do what we can do to keep sort of emotions positive, to keep morale up and sort of keep the team together, because one of the main aims of our team, one of the main sort of ethics of our team is sort of a family unit. We are very good friends, every single one of us, and it was hard not seeing them, because we'd have players and sort of their families, like we'd have like partners and things like that would come and stay at mine and Kia's house, because we'd have them over for the weekend, and we'd do that with with quite a few of our players, but obviously that couldn't happen. So we were just trying sort of to keep that family unit together, and we're always calling ourselves like the Wolf Pack. We are a pack, and we stick together, and we help each other where we can. So yeah, I mean, COVID hit us massively, but we've come out of it the other side, and we are stronger, and sort of we are still known in the community. People are still very much behind us, and I say Direct Access and Wolves are sort of still in that sort of tight relationship, and we're hoping to move that forward into the upcoming season. And because we didn't lie stagnant, because we didn't just sit there and think, you know what, we'll pick it up at the end of this, we have come out of it, I think, a stronger team and a stronger unit. Well, I mean, like I said earlier on in the interview, we play to win, and with the players that we have and the sort of team spirit that we have, is win, lose or draw, we do our best, and we hope to go into the new season and we hope to win the league again, and hopefully that's something that we will come out of it at the end of the season with another trophy, which will be brilliant. Competitively, we are potentially looking at entering another, like a second visually impaired team into the league, possibly next season, depending on how we go about this season, because it all boils down to the end of the day. It's a second team means more expense. So if we can get those funds together, then we will hopefully have the numbers in players to put in a second team, and then hopefully we'll have two teams battling it out for the league. And I don't think we could sort of expect better than that, really. We have our players, like I said, went to the England trials, so on a personal level for them and on a team level for our players, we're hoping that they will get their call-ups, and we'll hopefully have at least one player playing in the England visually impaired team, and that's our aim, really. We as much as we want to win as a team, we want our players to succeed in their individual footballing careers, I suppose. So the sort of the highest level that they want to be at is playing from England. So if we can help them along their road there, then that would be sort of one of our main aims. That it's a difficult one there, because in regards to sort of visually impaired and disabled sort of sports people, I personally have quite a few friends that are Paralympians, and have been out in Tokyo and sort of won golds and silvers and things out there. So yes, I look up to them, and I'm privileged to be friends with them, and sort of but in regards to a footballing side of things, it's not necessarily disabled footballers that I've personally looked up to, but it's it's more the same as every other sort of kid growing up, really, was the David Beckhams and the sort of the Ollie Solskjaers of the world. I mean, I'm a big Man United fan, so I'm sure that other players will have looked up to other teams and other players. But for me, it was the David Beckhams, the sort of the sort of Ollie Solskjaers and the sort of Alan Shearers at the time, really, who sort of have always been sort of massive. And that as you grow up, you sort of think, oh, I want to play like that when I grow up, and I want to do that. I want to score goals and things like that. And sort of starting up the club, it was very much a sort of, not necessarily, oh, I want to play like Ronaldo. It was sort of wanting to take our game, our playing football, and sort of put it into a sort of a scenario where we could try and play to the best of our ability, which is what every sports person wants to do. They want to compete to the best of their ability, and that's what we've done. I think we are able to play. We are able to play competitively, and like I say, we have got players that are looking at the international team and hoping to break through there. But another thing, as a visually impaired player and as a sort of manager of a visually impaired team, I've always instilled that sort of have no fear when you play, and we will play anybody. We'll play fully sighted people. We enter the People's FA Cup each year, which is a sort of like a pan disability cup, and for the past few times we've been the only visually impaired team in there. So we go out and play outdoors at a disadvantage because of the weather affects our eyesight massively, and we compete and we do really well. And it's something that we've always instilled into our players, that we will play anybody. And that's, I think, because growing up we've been like, well, like we're looking up to these sports people, to these footballers and things, and we're just like, well, why shouldn't we be able to play against anybody? A lot of people sort of, there's a lot of stigma behind disability, and but I think with the right sort of mentality, I think obviously not like the big clubs now, like Manchester United, the Liverpools and teams like that, have their disability sort of arms as such, their disability sides of things. So there is no reason why the players with visual impairment or with a disability can't sort of get through life and sort of get playing football and potentially end up at these clubs. It's something that, like I say, the sort of disability side of things doesn't necessarily mean lack of ability. It's sort of, if you can play and you want to play, then you push forward with that, and you reach the highest platform that you want to reach. And if you're determined to do it, then you don't stop trying until you get there.